Jai Hind everyone. This is Dr. Naresh Kumar from Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College, Ghaziabad. Welcome to the class of Communication Engineering. In this video lecture, basically we will mainly discuss the sampling process, what is sampling theorem. Then in detail we will discuss the concept of PCM, that is pulse code modulation. What is pulse code modulation? What are the various steps for the pulse code modulation system, and what are the various blocks for the PCM based communication system? So first of all, we will cover the first topic, that is sampling process. Basically we have studied that there are two type of signals. Mainly we have analog signal and then we have a digital signal. So in practical systems, there may be requirement of conversion of the analog signal into the corresponding digital signal. The first step for the analog signal to digital signal conversion is the sampling. That is, sampling is a process where we take the samples of the magnitude signal at discrete intervals of time or at discrete instants of time. Basically we have analog signal or continuous signal, where the value of the signal is defined at every instant of time. For example, along with the time, this side we have the amplitude or magnitude, and let's say this is the signal. This is basically a analog signal or a continuous signal. That means the amplitude of this signal is defined at every instant of time. So for this continuous or analog signal, if we take samples at selected institute of time, that is particular instant of time. Okay, so the sample is defined at this time interval, this time slot, and this interval and this time period. That is, sample is taken at discrete instant of time. So for the continuous signal, here we take the samples at discrete instant of time. Now these are the samples obtained at discrete instant of time, and the analog or continuous signal has been converted into the discrete signal, which is a first step towards the digitalization of the signal or message. So for converting the analog signal into the digital signal, the first step taken is the sampling. Basically where we take the samples at discrete instants of time. So the sampled sequence will have amplitudes equal to the signal value at sampling instants and undefined at all other intervals. That is, magnitude will be defined only at these discrete instant of time, and the magnitude will be undefined for other time intervals. In between, the magnitudes will be undefined. How we can achieve the sampling process? The sampling process can be simply treated as a electronic switching action. That is, simply by using an electronic switch, we can obtain the sample for the discrete signal corresponding to the continuous analog signal. The time at which discrete instant where we require the sample, we can switch on the electronic switch. Electronic switch will be on. And when the signal magnitude is undefined at the other time intervals, at that point we will have the switch, electronic switch in the off position. That is, the sampling process is very simple, where we can obtain the samples by using the electronic switch, and the switch will be on wherever the sample is required at that discrete instant of time, and when the sample is not required, and at that time the electronic switch will be made in the off situation. Okay. So as discussed, this is the electronic switch. that can be used for providing the sampling, where we have the input analog signal, then we have the control signal, which is basically a pulse train, then we have the sampled output signal. Now this electronic switch will work in two states, one is on and another is off. We can make the electronic switch in the on state when we require discrete sample. Okay, and when the sample magnitude is not required, we will switch off the electronic switch. So sampling is the process where we take the samples of the continuous or analog signal at discrete instant of time, and this can be implemented with the help of electronic switch. So that process we have discussed previously. The switch can be used for the sampling. The switch will work either in the on condition or in the off state. Now sampling theorem. Basically sampling theorem states that at what time interval we need to take the samples. Basically we have, this is the continuous signal and we take samples at discrete time intervals. The time gap after which we have to take the samples, or the number of samples to be taken in per second. What is the rate of sampling? Rate of sampling, or we can say that sampling interval, sampling time, or we can say that sampling interval. These are the parameters which are governed through the sampling theorem. Okay, basically in the sampling process we take the samples at discrete instant of time. Now what will be the rate of sampling? What will be the sampling time or sampling interval? That is governed with the help of this sampling theorem. Sampling theorem states that the samples taken per second must be greater than equal to twice the maximum of signal frequency component at the input signal. That is, sampling theorem states that mathematically Fs, the rate of sampling, must be greater than equal to twice of Fm, where this Fm is maximum frequency component of the message signal or the input signal. This is the maximum frequency component. Maximum frequency component in the input signal or message signal. This is the minimum rate of sampling that must be done. If the sampling is done less than this sampling frequency, then the reconstruction of the signal from the sampled signal to the original signal will not be possible, or recovery will be slightly difficult. We may face also the distortion, and that effect is known as the aliasing effect. Okay, if sampling theorem is not satisfied or sampling theorem is not fulfilled, then we will face the aliasing effect, that is the distortion, or the recovery of the original signal will become difficult in that case. So hence, while sampling we should follow the sampling theorem. Otherwise we will have the condition of undersampling, and this undersampling conditions can be explained through the aliasing effect. In the later on slides we will discuss these. So again we have defined the sampling theorem. So this is the sampling theorem equation in terms of the sampling frequency, and we know that the relation between the time and frequency is inverse. So the Nyquist time interval, that is reverse of this sampling frequency, is 1 upon 2 Fm. Okay, so basically here we can have three cases where this Fs is equal to 2 Fm, where we have Fs greater than equal to greater than 2 Fm, or we can have Fs less than 2 Fm. So this is the case where the sampling condition or sampling theorem is just satisfied. Critical condition. This is the sampling theorem condition, that is Fs must always be greater, and this is the case of undersampling where the aliasing effect occurs. For these three cases, we can see the graph in the frequency domain. So this is the sampled spectrum at the Nyquist rate, or frequency domain representation in the case of where we have Fs equal to 2 Fm. Here we can see that the samples are just attached with each other. There is no gap in between. Then we have a reconstruction low pass filter. Once the signal has been sampled, the recovery of the signal or conversion into the original form can be simply done with the help of a low pass filter. And this low pass filter is usually termed as reconstruction filter. So this is the ideal low pass filter. So in basically practical purposes, we will use the practical low pass filter. Again, this is the condition of sampling theorem where Fs is greater than 2 Fm, that is oversampling case. So here we have sufficient gap in between the spectrum components, that's why there is no overlapping or distortion, and recovery of the signal can be easily done with the help of this practical low pass filter. Then we have this third case where we have the Fs less than 2 Fm. When the Fs is less than 2 Fm, we will say that this is the case of undersampling. Or we will say that the sampling theorem is not satisfied. The condition for the sampling theorem is not satisfied, and we can see that in the frequency domain, the spectrum sampled are intermixing with each other. When the samples are intermixing with each other, the recovery of the signal into its original form will not be possible because of this intermixing, and this intermixing of the signal may be denoted as the aliasing effect. Okay, to avoid this intermixing, we have the condition Fs must be greater than equal to 2 Fm. Otherwise, there will be intermixing of the samples and recovery into the original form will not be possible. To avoid that, we always try to fulfill the condition of sampling theorem. This is the one numerical example to find out the sampling frequency. So basically, this is the signal that is represented mathematically as this one. This is the input signal. From here we can calculate the F1. From here we can calculate the F2. From here we can calculate the F3. Basically, this one is omega t. Okay, so for the first case, omega 1 t is 50 pi t, and we know that omega is 2 pi. Omega is 2 pi f. So omega 1 will be 2 pi f1 equal to 50 pi. Okay, so pi cancel f1 equal to 50 by 2, that is 25 hertz. So f1 is calculated as 25 hertz. In the similar way, we can calculate f2. f2 comes out to be as 150 hertz. In the similar way, for this case, we can calculate the f3. f3 is 50 hertz. So 25 hertz, 150 hertz and 50 hertz. So out of these, maximum frequency component is fm, that is f2, that is equal to 150 hertz. So sampling frequency will be fs equal to 2 fm, that is 2 into 150 hertz, that is 300 hertz. The sampling frequency will be 300 hertz or more than the 300 hertz. Then we cover the next topic. Next topic is pulse code modulation. This is basically a pulse based digital modulation scheme. Okay, basically through sampling, what we achieve is PAM. After sampling, what we achieve is PAM. In the PAM, basically we have discretized only the time parameter, but we have discretized only the time at t1, t2 and t3, but the magnitude has not been discretized. But in the PCM case, pulse amplitude is also discretized and then encoded. So this is the basic difference. After sampling, what we get is pulse amplitude modulation, that is PAM, where only the time parameter is discretized. But in the PAM, the magnitude component is still the analog. But in the case of PCM, both magnitude as well also the time, these are discretized. So what are the main steps for the PCM? The main steps for the PCM pulse code modulation will be, first will be sampling, or we will obtain the PAM. After that, to discretize the magnitude, we will use the process known as quantization, and finally the quantized magnitude is encoded, or we form the code words, and these code words are finally transmitted from one end to another end. So we can say that there are three steps for the PCM, that is sampling, quantization and encoding. This is the operation of quantization. This is the analog signal where we have defined some levels or discrete levels in the sample. These are the quantization levels, and for any value either we can go up or down, and at maximum the difference between the two samples or error can be S by 2. Let's see this with an example. Suppose we have a magnitude of 1.7. The nearest value for this point is either 1.5 or 2. But the difference between the two is, here the difference is 0.2 and here the difference is 0.3. So we will take the nearest one as 0.2. So the magnitude value 1.7 will be considered as 2. This is the meaning of quantization. Okay, and we know that in the digital system, either, for example, if we have 1.5, then either we can go on the side of 1 or we can go on the side of 2. So maximum allowed gap is 0.5. This gap is basically quantization error. Quantization error. In the digital case, this difference between the quantized levels is basically 1. The gap between the quantization level in the case of digital system is 1. So we will have, let's say, like we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the gap between the two is 1. So if gap is 1, maximum allowed error can be 0.5, which is the half of the level. So this can be termed as S by 2. So the maximum difference between the actual value of the sample and the quantized value of the sample can be 0.5 in the case of digital system, which is half of the quantization level magnitude 1. So the quantization error can be plus minus S by 2. Okay. So again, what we have discussed previously is error in the level is, this is S, and maximum error can be S by 2, half. Again, these are the sample quantized sample magnitude levels, and maximum allowed error can be S by 2. So next step will be, first is in the PCM we have studied there are 3 steps. One is sampling, then we have quantization, then we have the encoding, or let's say binary encoding. Okay. So the quantized sample magnitude level, let's say previously we have studied 2. So this 2 needs to be converted into the corresponding digital codes, depending upon how many number of bits we are using to represent the sample magnitude or quantization levels. So if let's say there are 8 levels, so 8 levels in binary bits can be represented as 2 raised to power 3, or we can use a 3-bit system. If we have 16 quantized levels, so we will have 2 to power 16. So 4-bit PCM system will be used for encoding. So depending upon whether we are using 3-bit system for encoding or 4-bit system encoding or number of quantization levels, we will have the binary bits representing the particular quantized levels. So this step is the encoding. So basically when we have the quantization level 2 to represent that, we will use in the 3-bit system as 0, 1, 0, and 4-bit system we will use as 0, 1, 0. So basically in the PCM step, PCM will have 3 steps: sampling, then quantization, then finally the encoding. Or these are basically the 3-bit or 4-bit code words, and these are the PCM code words, and these PCM code words will be used for transmission of the signal over the communication channel. Again, that we have discussed. Suppose we are using 8 levels, okay, and the gap between the two is 1 is there. So basically we have sample value, then we have the nearest quantization level as 1.5, and for the 1.5 we have the corresponding code number as 5, and then for the 5 we will use the encoding or binary encoding process. 5 will be represented as 101 for the case of 3-bit system or 8 levels. Okay, so this represents the PCM signal. Then we have the final PCM communication system. As discussed, PCM process will be used So like any other communication system, it will also have one as transmitter section, another we will have the receiver section, and in between we will have the channel. Okay. So first of all, the analog signal will be received, and this analog signal will be converted into the PCM code words or PCM signals on the transmitter side. As discussed, there will be 3 steps. Firstly, the sampler will be used, that is sampling process. Sampler can be, for example, flat top sampling, or we may use the natural sampling. So here we will have the sampler. Then finally we will have the quantizer, that is second step that we have previously discussed. Then we will have the encoder, which will convert the quantized levels into the corresponding binary code words. These 2 steps basically are used for the A to D conversion steps. These steps are also known as the A to D conversion, that is analog to digital converter. So basically whenever we have to convert the analog signal into the corresponding digital encoded signal, we will use the 3 steps, that is PCM, or we can say that we will use sampling, quantization, or encoding. So we have the digitally encoded signal. That signal will be transmitted through the channel, that may be a coaxial cable, that may be optical fiber, that may be a waveguide, or that may be free space, depending upon which type of medium we are using, wired or wireless medium. Then on the receiver side, we will have the reverse. Firstly, the digital signal will be converted into the quantizer. Then we will have the decoder corresponding to the encoding, as there was conversion of analog, the levels into the binary. So binary to decimal conversion will be there, and finally the filter will be used for reconstruction of signal into the input signal or message signal, which is into the analog form. And this filter is basically, as we have previously discussed, is basically will be a low pass filter, or we can say that this will be a reconstruction filter. Okay, so this is the basic PCM system. Now this PCM system may have some advantages as well as some disadvantages. As far as advantages are concerned, basically here we have the digital system. So when we have the digital system, the immunity towards the noise gets increased. It gets less affected by the noise in the digital form. So one is improvement in terms of noise. If we have digital, then we can easily store and process the data. Storing and processing gets easy. We can also use the repeater with the digital system, but we also have some disadvantages, like we use either 4-bit or 3-bit depending upon quantization level for the representation of code words. So more number of bits are used, more is the bandwidth required for the system. Bandwidth of the system gets increased. Moreover, there is also the concept of the redundant bits. We will see that in the PCM, when we take the samples, the difference between the 2 samples is very less, but still we have to use the more number of bits. So that result into the redundant information or redundant bits being transmitted and higher bandwidth. These limitations can be overcome with the help of some more further advanced modulation or techniques schemes, such as like delta modulation, adaptive delta modulation, differential PCM. So we can use these techniques for the improvement in the process. So that's all for this lecture. This is the reference book that we have used in this presentation. Thank you everyone. Jai Hind.